Seasoner
and Co.
Welcome to Second-Hand Haunting,
where we read ghost stories out of a second-hand book I found in a second-hand shop and try and make sense of them.
Fun of them.
Sense of them.
Fun of them.
Sense of them.
Fun of them.
Senator of them.
Well, now I'm confused.
Oh, really?
Much like the politicians of today.
The reason I bring up senators will become obvious shortly, Ollie.
Okay.
But first, I've got a little preamble before we get to today's story.
Do love a preamble.
I've got a question for you.
Shoot.
How old do you think is our oldest recorded story of a haunted house?
That's a good question. Were we looking for a century or more of a decade or a specific date?
Feel free to give me a civilization. Feel free to give me
I was going to say
1726.
1726.
That
I don't know why that came to my mind.
a noble guess. That's probably when.
Have you tracked this at all? The oldest that we've done before. I feel like I know what your setup is.
No, not the oldest we've read before. The oldest that exists in human history.
Okay, the oldest that's existed in history. Well, that's like back in like the dinosaur age.
Oh my god, that's prehistory. Okay, since we've started writing shit down, when do you think someone first wrote about a haunted house?
Surely there's like a cave painting.
Of what? Of a little cave with a little ghost with a little bed sheet on them or something. They hadn't invented bed sheets. They didn't invent beds.
Like a little cave person, Casper.
Oh my god. Anyway, that can't be a haunted house because it's a cave.
Oh, okay. This is not haunted caves.
No, I have been very specific with my requirements here. This is a haunted house.
Okay.
As in a constructed domicile that people live in.
Well, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, French, Parisian, the Gauls?
Would it surprise you at all to learn that it was somewhere around 2,000 years ago?
Really? 2,000 years ago?
Oh, yes.
Would that have been around the birth of Christian civilization?
It would be. Well, it's
Christ,
certainly...
is that 2,000 years ago?
It's in the double digits AD.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Double digits AD. So, like, we're talking like 150...
Double digits.
Oh, 1,050.
Double digits.
That's well, that was double digits, wasn't it? Like 10.
That's quadruple digits. That's 4 digits.
Oh, okay. Did you
Double
say
digits,
double?
like-
Oh, I was supposed to go down. Okay.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah.
right. So like 5 AD.
That's single digits.
I'm not good at this game.
Would you like to take one more guess?
60 AD.
Oh, surprisingly close. For the man who is telling this story was born in 61 AD.
I swear I thought I was good at math.
Math or history?
Sorry, I completely missed your point because I was laughing at myself. What was the date?
The man who is telling this story was born in 61 AD.
Well, that was close then.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Well done. Were you looking at my phone or something?
Definitely not. No, that was several poor guesses before getting it quite close. So yeah, 60 AD.
So you're not far off with France either. This is in Italy. This is in Rome. This is in ancient Rome.
Do you know, I was planning on visiting Rome and wanting to see a bit of the Roman architecture from ancient Rome when I was there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you go?
I mean, planning to go.
Okay.
At the end of the year. Like, I'm planning to go to Rome at the end of the year.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to save this story because I didn't bring another book with me today.
Oh, please don't. No, I'm very fascinated. Don't set me up and then save the story for later. That would be
never.
very frustrating.
Ollie, have you heard of a man called Pliny the Younger?
No, but I feel like I've heard of like the Younger from like English stories, right? They always like talk about like Pitt the Younger and...
Yes, yeah. Okay, so you are aware of the fact that when two people in approximately the same time have the same name, they call them the older and the younger because no one had invented surnames yet.
And actually, I didn't know that was the reason.
No, that's not really the reason.
Oh, because I hadn't invented surnames yet.
Pitt the Elder and Pitt the Younger, I believe, had the same surname. They had the same name. So they still needed to... Surnames didn't do their job in differentiating between two different people.
As opposed to as the second.
Yeah, but Pitt the Elder and Pitt the Younger specifically both also had the same job. So
Senators?
That's tricky. Something like that. They're both politicians anyway.
I was going to say, it's like the only Romans that we hear about, right? Like politicians and generals.
I think the Pitts were English. I could be wrong.
Oh, no, the Pitts were, sure.
Yeah. For the record, William Pitt the Elder and William Pitt the Younger were a father and son who were both Prime Ministers of England within about 15 years of each other.
I hear they were the Pitts.
Oh, fuck.
I meant the Roman, like the Romans, which were really senators, right?
But yes, indeed. Well, Pliny the Younger, I'm not sure if he was ever a senator, but he was certainly a lawyer.
Okay.
He was a lawyer and prolific letter writer.
Yeah, it's funny to think about how old the profession of lawyer is, actually. Well,
as soon as somebody came up with a rule...
there was someone arguing against it.
Yeah, and then someone else arguing for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's law, right?
And their battle of wits. Yeah, no, indeed. No, for sure.
I will say this is in contrast to his elder namesake, Pliny the Elder, who was a doctor and philosopher and prolific book writer.
Okay.
He was a cool dude too. But Pliny the Younger, I don't know why, I don't know how, but we've got like all of the letters he ever wrote to people. Mm-hmm. It was deemed important enough that everyone was like, oh, we'll save these letters. This guy's important. And I have in my hands a collection of the letters of the younger Pliny.
Well, there you go.
Which is an English translation, obviously, because he was writing in Latin.
Right, so it's not even a ghost story book.
No. This is just a collection of letters that some dude wrote to everyone around him. He's like a reply guy on Twitter.
Second hand, some letters some guy wrote.
Did he know that everything that he ever wrote was going to be recorded for posterity? I don't know, but I'm glad we have it.
Me too.
Because he decided one day to write a letter to his local senator, basically saying, well, if you're so smart, explain these ghosts.
I love that.
I love this guy's attitude. But what that does mean is that we have an example of 3 different stories about spirits from, like, as old as history. No, that's down. I'm going to rescind that.
Before the time when they actually had spirits, huh?
Do you mean spirits to drink?
I do.
In which case, yes, you're probably right. Yeah. When spirit only meant one thing.
Yeah, I don't think spirits are that old in the grand scheme of things.
No.
They're maybe like a couple of 100 years old.
Yeah, that sounds
Although
right.
it feels very natural to us, but beer and wine have been around for a very long time. Yeah.
I am curious as to how many of these letters by Pliny were written under the influence of a couple of glasses of wine. It feels like at least several of them.
They certainly didn't hold back at the time.
No.
Yeah, I think they traditionally started drinking it around midday.
If that. But what will become evident is that spirit still meant more than one thing. Because we're going to get 3 stories and spirit's going to mean something a little bit different in each of them.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it must be interesting with the translation as well.
That's true. However, it was written in one letter basically saying, hey, if you're so smart, explain these ghosts.
Okay.
So even back then, they had a concept that these 3 things were still kind of in the same ilk.
Okay.
Right? So this is Pliny the Younger's letter to Licinius Sera, his local senator. Our leisure gives me the chance to learn, and you to teach me. So I should very much like to know whether you think that ghosts exist, and have a form of their own, and some sort of supernatural power, or whether they lack substance and reality and take shape only from our fears. So even back in the first recorded haunted house story, is someone questioning, hey, is this real?
Or is it a projection of our subconscious or, subconscious fears?
Yeah. Yeah, not just is it real or is it not, but if it isn't real, is it coming from weird
as opposed to that
human
time
brain
when
stuff?
The plant moved independently
Yeah.
in my lounge room?
Yeah. Ollie, are you afraid of plants?
No, I thought it was more of a...
Had you dozed off on the couch watching Day of the Triffids?
So I love plants, and I particularly like indoor plants, which you should know by now.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere, exactly. And you'd think someone might come into our house and actually think that, like, hey, like, Ollie's wife likes plants, and they would be wrong. It's all me. Yeah, but I have a propensity towards houseplants.
The greener things in life.
Indeed.
That sounds like innuendo. It's not.
Could be. So I think it was the spirit reaching out to me using a medium in which it knew I enjoyed the rattling of a plant.
No, I'm not going to ask any further questions. Moving on. I personally am encouraged to believe in their existence largely from what I have heard of the experience of Curtius Rufus.
Who, what now? Curtius Rufus.
Curtius Rufus.
Curtius Rufus.
That's a dude. Now, Pliny the Younger is not the only person to talk about this story from Curtius Rufus. It's also told in Tacitus' Annals.
Do you think he was, like, super polite?
1121.
Because he was courteous.
Entirely possible. I don't know. While he was still obscure and unknown, he was attached to the suite of the new governor of Africa. Rome and Africa, not very far away from each other. Obviously, he's not talking about all of Africa. No one person has ever ruled all of Africa.
Or maybe they thought they did.
Yeah. But Curtius Rufus was a sort of, I guess, a delegate from Rome to Carthage, as we'll see. So,
for those without much geographic experience, Africa is quite big.
It is massive. However, the Barbary Coast is quite close to Rome. It's probably the closest point to sail to Rome that is not an island. One afternoon, he was walking up and down in the colonnade of his house, when there appeared to him the figure of a woman of superhuman size and beauty. What are we thinking? Are we thinking like Steven Universe? Feel free to just imagine a 3 metre tall woman if you want. 10 metres tall. How about 50 cubit tall woman?
Let's try talking about something we don't have to cut. Okay. Composure.
Very large, very beautiful woman.
Awesome.
Yeah. To allay his fears, she told him that she was the spirit of Africa, come to foretell his future.
So he's in a good mood.
Yes. So this is the first spirit that we're talking about here, is one that is the embodiment of a whole place.
I must admit, it sounds like Night Before Christmas, or what's that called?
Are you thinking A Christmas Carol?
Yeah, like Christmas
or A
Carol.
Nightmare Before Christmas?
No, I was thinking more like A Christmas Carol, but like, you know, someone's actually like acting.
Okay.
You know, like he's like half asleep or he's incredibly drunk, and then someone's like dressed up as a spirit, like as an African woman, and she's coming and she's like, I'm going to tell you your future.
Well, of all of the spirits to visit Scrooge in A Christmas Carol, which one would you say this is? Is this Jacob Marley covered in chains, being dragged down by the sins of his past? Is this the ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas future, or the ghost of Christmas present, the big jovial man?
Well, it's future, right?
Future, death.
Well, unfortunately, in a Christmas Carol, like that is the result. But you know, maybe it doesn't have to be death. You know?
I'm choosing to believe that this is essentially the female version of the giant Muppet from Muppet Christmas Carol,
right?
The Ghost of Christmas Present.
That was the best version.
Yeah, it was.
And in case people are wondering whether or not I'm being serious, I'm dead serious. The best version was the Muppet version.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there. No complaints.
Well, the Doctor Who was quite close.
Shush you. Anyway, so the spirit of Africa has come to tell Curtius Rufus his future. He would return to Rome and hold office, and then return with supreme authority to the same province where he would die.
Who died?
Oh, no one's died yet.
Okay. Oh, right. The ghost said he would die.
Yep.
Well, then that is the ghost of Christmas future.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. But the ghost is telling him that he will leave his domain in Africa, go back to Rome, become a bigwig, come back to Africa, and then die in Africa.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Everything came true. Moreover, the story goes on to say that as he left the boat on his arrival at Carthage, the same figure met him on the shore. Now, Carthage is a city in Africa. It is at least certain that when he fell ill, he interpreted his future by the past and misfortune by his previous success, and gave up all hope of recovery, although none of his people despaired of his life. So when he got back to Africa, he fell sick, and he just gave up. He's like, oh no, the spirit was real! I'm gonna die! And everyone around him going like, you're fine, mate, it's a cold. And then he died.
Yeah. All right,
so that's the end of the first story.
Oh, I was going to ask. But no, okay, so he's telling the story of his friend and which of this happened to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Pliny the Younger is asking his local senator, hey, if you're so smart, can you explain what this ghost was about this guy who heard that he was going to die and then travelled a bit and then died?
No.
Yes. I think you've encapsulated that perfectly. Now, to consider whether the following story, which I will tell you just as it was told to me, is not quite as remarkable and even more terrifying. In Athens, there was a large and spacious mansion with a bad reputation of being dangerous to its occupants. Now, you may recognise Athens as not being in Rome.
Or you may not.
You may not, and in which case I will tell you Athens is in Greece. So this is the
Which is not in Rome.
No, correct. So the Romans were well aware of the even older empire of Greece, right? And they have many stories and oral histories about Greece. So that's what he's talking about. He's talking about something significantly older than what Rome was at the time. At dead of night, the clanking of iron and, if you listened carefully, the rattle of chains could be heard. Some way off at first, and then close at hand.
Yeah, it's all a Christmas Carol.
It sure is. I'm so glad you already brought up A Christmas Carol, because holy crap, this is the oldest recorded ghost in history, and it's exactly A Christmas Carol.
Oh God, all stories are stolen.
Yep. Then there appeared the spectre of an old man, emaciated and filthy, with a long flowing beard and hair on end, wearing fetters on his legs and shaking the chains on his wrists. Now, fetters is manacles, but for your feet.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's exactly Jacob Marley. The wretched occupants would spend fearful nights awake in terror. Lack of sleep led to illness and then death as their dread increased. For even during the day when the apparition had vanished, the memory of it was in their mind's eye, so that the terror remained after the cause of it had gone. So at best I would say that these people are not sleeping well, and therefore during the day they're also not particularly well. I think that's entirely reasonable. But that doesn't explain this man shaking chains all around the house.
I shouldn't say that all stories are stolen either. I should say that a lot of stories have been previously inspired by other stories.
Yes. I think that Lewis Carroll?
Mm-hmm.
Charles Dickens, I know. May or may not have been aware of this story. I don't know. And
also, it may just be a coincidence. God knows how many times I've come up with an idea for something and then found that it's already out there.
There is certainly a human propensity to... Well, look, in A Christmas Carol, the chains are a metaphor for his self-imposed restraints in life that prevented him from living, yeah?
No.
He was chained to the ledgers, chained to the money, chained to his job.
That's a nice way of putting it. I like it.
We don't know what this guy's chained to yet.
It does remind me of a global consciousness.
Okay, Young.
So the idea that our consciousnesses are all connected in some sort of bubble of mindfulness.
Yep.
And on one level, we're individuals, but on another level, we're all connected through history as well. Like, true time and space.
Careful, we're starting to veer into reincarnation territory here.
Well, I believe in reincarnation.
Yeah, I know. But that's nothing to do with this story.
So Lewis Carroll was reincarnated from...
a reincarnated Pliny the Younger.
Yeah, so...
You know what? I can believe that.
We've solved it. He hadn't read the book. He was the book. He wrote the Muppets version too.
If it helps, feel free to imagine all of these characters as Muppets. I will not stop you.
I already have been. Way ahead of you.
The house was therefore deserted, condemned to stand empty and wholly abandoned to the spectre. But it was advertised as being to let or for sale in case someone was found who knew nothing of its evil reputation.
Well, that's a story as old as time as well, isn't it?
Right? Right? The haunted house that they can't rent out. The young family moves in because, God, that rent is just so cheap.
So anyone out there that wants to start a new novel, just go back and start reading some old letters from Roman historians.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, after we finish this particular letter, we can just flick to a random page and read something else if you want.
And then we can create a whole new book or novel out of that.
Yeah. Somewhere out there is a riveting detective series about poor copper merchants in Babylonia.
I'd watch that.
I know you would. The philosopher Athenodorus came to Athens and read the notice.
Who was that?
The philosopher Athenodorus.
Athenodorus?
Athenodorus. He's a philosopher in Greece, you see.
You've done well to pronounce that.
I have notes. His suspicions were aroused when he heard the low price. Mm-hmm. And the whole story came out on inquiry. But he was nonetheless, in fact, all the more eager to rent the home.
Really? God, this does sound like a story.
Yeah, right?
I feel like I'm even getting deja vu.
A little bit. When darkness fell, he gave orders that a couch was to be made up for him in the front part of the house, and asked for his notebooks, pen, and a lamp. He sent all his servants to the inner rooms and concentrated his thoughts, eyes, and hand on this writing.
This feels like an old-timey ghost hunt.
This not only is this the oldest haunted house story, this is the oldest Ghostbuster, and I love it.
He ain't afraid of no ghost.
No! Insert whatever the Latin of I ain't afraid of no ghost is.
Nullum spectrum timeo.
Right, so it's concentrated all his thoughts, eyes, and hand on this writing, so that his mind would be occupied and not conjure up the phantom he had heard about, nor other imaginary fears. At first there was nothing but the general silence of night. Then came the clanking of iron and dragging of chains. He did not look up nor stop writing, but steeled his mind to shut out the sounds. Then the noise grew louder, came nearer, and was heard in the doorway, and then inside the room. He looked round, saw and recognized the ghost described to him. He's recognized it as what was described to him. He didn't look at it and go, "Oh, it's Bob." It stood and beckoned as if summoning him. Athenodorus, in his turn, signalled to it to wait a little, and again bent over his notes and pen, while it stood rattling its chains over his head as he wrote.
Ease up, mate. Gotta get some notes down.
Yeah, I'll be with you in a minute. I've got to finish this paragraph. Boo!
Yeah, all right, settle down.
He looked round again and saw it beckoning as before. So without further delay, he picked up his lamp and followed. It moved slowly, as if weighed down with chains. And when it turned off into the courtyard of the house, it suddenly vanished, leaving him alone. Where do you think it's gone?
To the courtyard?
Yep.
Is that a test? I swear I've been paying attention.
Keep talking about ghosts in a minute. I've got to finish this paragraph. So after the ghost has left him alone, he then picked up some grass and leaves and marked the spot. So in the courtyard, he's pulled some grass out the ground to say, like, well, that's where the ghost disappeared. The following day, he approached the magistrates and advised them to give orders for the place to be dug up. Right? Because he's only renting the place, so he's gone to the local judge to say, hey, can you get someone to dig up this spot I've marked?
So someone's clearly thankful that someone's renting out the place finally.
Yeah. There, they found bones twisted round with chains, which were left bare and corroded by the fetters when time and the action of the soil had rotted away the body. The bones were collected and given a public burial, and after the shades had been duly laid to rest, the house saw them no more.
Did they pour some salt on them and burn them?
Yeah, so not only is it the first haunted house and the first Ghostbuster, it's the first exorcism.
Exorcism as well.
Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Fuck yeah, ancient Rome. Making up stories about ancient Greece so no one can actually confirm the details.
One of the best books we've read so far. I mean that meaningfully. Meaningfully? I mean it.
Now, you might have noticed that I said that there were 3 stories that he wrote, right?
Well, that's the ghost of Christmas past, future, and present.
Yeah. The ghost of Africa, the ghost of chains, and the ghost of whatever the fuck this next one is. Because I'm telling you, Ollie, we've had the best this guy's got. It gets weird from here.
It gets weird from here.
Yeah.
So it wasn't weird before.
No.
Okay.
For these details, I rely on the evidence of others, meaning the previous 2 stories.
Mm-hmm.
But here is a story I can vouch for myself.
Whoa. The other penny drops.
Yeah. One of my freedmen, a freedman is a slave who has been freed, yeah.
Solid.
But often after their indentured servitude has finished, they would continue working voluntarily for the person who was their owner before.
Oh, really?
Right? Like, if they both agreed, like, hey, you're a good owner, you're a good worker, would you like to now just get paid normally and you can quit whenever you want? They'll just keep doing it.
Do you know, I heard that Romans looked down upon, like, workers in general. There was something that was frowned upon in their society, like, you know, giving away your time or your body for, like, other people's work. And that it was, like, it was much nobler to, you know, be, like, a business owner or a farmer or something where you're... Being a business owner was a lot more noble and it was looked down upon to...
Are you saying that's any different to what we have today?
Oh.
Where CEOs are seen as significantly more elite than people who toil in fields?
Oh, I don't think...
It's kind of been a thing with humans for a while.
I wouldn't have said that, you know, like in Australia, we look down upon people for, you know, being workers. The elites just have more money, right? They don't not look down upon.
I think as a society we do so. Individually,
I was going to say,
is a different matter.
I didn't even know people were looking down upon me. Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry, do you toil in the fields?
No.
Or do you sit in your cushy air conditioning all day working remotely for a tech startup in Silicon Valley?
I'm still a worker.
Respect.
I mean, I can't join a union, but I'm still a worker.
Wait, can you...
I don't think I can. I don't think there's a union for me.
Probably not, no. You could start one. Anyway, one of my freedmen, a man of some education, was sleeping in the same bed as his younger brother.
How funny is that? I know, look, I allow you to move on, but
I'm so curious which bit of this you're picking up on.
But how funny is it that even after being a slave, like, they're still branded with the title freeman? Like, they're not just called... like this dude. It's they're like almost like branded with the fact that they were a freed slave in a way, right?
I don't know how branded they were so much as it's just a quick way for him to explain who this person is to him.
Right? No, I mean, but like he could have just been like, this guy that works for me.
Yeah. It's more specific than that. I think, look, let's be honest.
All right,
I think
but-
there's a little bit of a brag there from Pliny the Younger being like, hey, motherfucker, I can afford slaves and to free them, and they still want to work for me. Aren't I great?
Sure. Okay.
So if you're so smart, explain this ghost.
All right. I'll stop.
We have all of Pliny the Younger's writings. We didn't say he's a good man.
I said I'd stop.
I'm not. This guy...
This younger
Okay,
guy.
so the fact that he was sleeping in the same bed as his younger brother didn't ping anything in your radar at all.
Wait, what?
This freedman
Yeah.
was sleeping in the same bed as his younger brother.
Okay. Because they could only afford one bed.
I don't know. Pliny, I think you can probably give each of your slaves a different bed, my man.
Maybe the slaves get separate beds, but once you're a free man.
You can't afford your own. Jesus. When he dreamed that he saw someone sitting on the bed and putting scissors to his hair, even cutting off the top of his head. Now, I've had dreams where, my teeth are coming out.
Oh man, I've had those dreams. They're the worst.
I believe you've had dreams of sleep paralysis stuff before, right? When someone
have,
else
yeah,
is,
we've
is
had-
in the room sitting on you.
Yeah. Well, not that specific. My sleep paralysis has been where I've woken up and I'm awake, but I can't move my body. But it's not that I don't necessarily have perceive other entities or anything in the room with me.
Ah, okay.
I usually just lie there, and it's just the fear of feeling like you're trapped in your own body.
Right, so you don't have any entities appearing when you're in that situation.
No.
Let alone an entity that is cutting your hair so fine it's cutting off the top of your head.
No.
This might be the worst sleep
I
paralysis
know
demon
that-
I've heard of.
I was going to say, I know that people experience stuff like that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is...
Just not my experience.
But hey, this is 60 AD and people are having these dreams, right?
I have spoken to
I'm honestly impressed that they had scissors.
I've spoken to family members in lucid dreams, but that's probably for another time.
That's a different thing. Yeah. That's the spirit of Africa.
Indeed.
I don't know what that means.
It was like the Spirit of Africa before, right? Cause,
Yeah,
I got it. Yeah, we're on board. Yeah, no, so it's he's cutting off his head.
Yeah,
not his
so
brother's
the
head.
guy who... Oh, good point. Hang on. Was sleeping in the same bed as his younger brother when he dreamed that he saw someone sitting on the bed and putting scissors to his hair, even cutting some off the top of his head. It doesn't actually say which person it is, whether it's the dreamer or the brother.
Did he see that, though?
I mean, well, he dreamed it.
Right, no, I'm just saying, because it's does he feel it or if he sees it? Because if he sees it, it's probably somebody else.
Ironically, I think we're splitting hairs here.
That was good. God, I love the English language. Yeah, so sleep paralysis, sleep demon.
Yep. When day dawned, he found this place shorn and the hair lying on the floor.
It happened.
It actually happens.
It happens. Either there is a ghost sneaking in and cutting hair off, it's another member of staff sneaking in and cutting his hair off.
But then also, not stealing the hair, just leaving it on the floor.
Or he's just he's losing hair. He's going bald.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
So-
He's no. When you're going bald, the hair doesn't physically fall out and appear at the foot of your bed. It doesn't. I'm telling you, it does not. As a bald man, no.
I will take your word for it. No, I was just I was just speculating as to what could have happened. So first of all, it happened.
Apparently,
It
yes.
happened.
Yeah.
Hair was removed from somewhere and appeared somewhere else.
Yeah, removed from his head. So it's saying that he dreamt of the hair being cut from the top of his head. I think I misunderstood. I don't think any of his head was being chopped off.
I'm not gonna lie, I do feel like we could be in a time where everybody drank a lot. that
There was lead literally in the water supply.
and that other people could potentially have just gone into the room and mess with this dude while he's sleeping. Like that.
Potentially. Now, if anyone in the world was to pull a prank like cutting his hair at night, it would be his very own brother.
Who was right there.
Right? This is very sibling activity.
So we've got motive, we've got opportunity.
And we've got a mean brother.
I was gonna. I was trying to think of like, what was the third one? There's like
Means.
Means, yeah. Means brother.
A short time elapsed, and then another similar occurrence confirmed the earlier one, so it happened again. A slave boy was sleeping with several others in the young slaves' quarters. I don't think we need to discuss Roman slave habits, do we? Suffice to say, I think this was normal.
It'd be funny if, like, imagine if, like, him getting to sleep in the same bed with his brother was, like, a privilege. So, like...
It's starting to sound like it would
that.
be,
Yeah. So it's like, if he was still a slave, he'd have to be in the slave quarters and sleeping in the same bed as, like, 10 other slaves or something.
What if...
In a pile of slaves.
Just a
Pile of slaves.
What if he was a freedman, but his brother was still a slave? Like, that is the thing that causes one sibling to cut another one's hair off at night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a freedman.
It should have been me. I should be the freeman.
He tossed a goddamn coin.
I wouldn't even be working here still. I'd be off having my own freeman adventures.
Yeah, you dickhead. You get the opportunity to be a freedman and you stay. Now, it's more complicated than that. There's a very beneficial financial relationship to a freedman to their master. But anyway.
No.
We don't need to get into that.
It does make me think, though. It's like sometimes I get the inclination to just like go off and be in the woods by myself, which I have heard is like a trauma response. But
You've said a lot lately that's made me worried, dude.
But I feel like in that time you could, right? Like you could just like go off and just live in the forest. Like what would be the big difference between like freemen sleeping in the same bed and just like, I don't know, go build a cottage in the forest, live off the land, pick berries.
Well, I mean, it's Rome at the time. It's the biggest metropolis around, right? There's not a lot of forest you can go to.
I was going to say... Like,
any forest that's out there is owned by someone.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's kind of funny. Really, it's so much land, but it's all owned.
Like, it's 60 AD. People have figured out private ownership.
Right.
And people owned that entire peninsula.
Yeah, but I mean, it must be, like, hard to find them, right?
Now that's a different matter.
Okay. No, I get
slave to freedman to gorilla.
I get the draw of the big city. Although to be fair, I've always been more of a small town kid.
Is Adelaide the perfect balance of those
two? It is. It actually is. Yeah, I always tell people like one of the reasons why I love Adelaide so much is because it's just like a big small town.
So his story, the slave boy,
slave man.
No, this is a boy.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no way around this.
If you saw Plebs, you probably get why I made that joke. Because there's like a character in a TV series called Plebs. It's a comedy about Romans. And there's one character in the show that is like a water bearer. And people always like refer to him as like water boy. And so he's like water man.
Oh, no. You had sold me on this show before. Now that's waning.
Oh, it's definitely corny. It's a corny show. Like, you know.
They didn't have corn. That was from the Americas.
Oh, snap.
So his story was that two men clad in white came in through the window, cut his hair as he lay in the bed, and departed the way they had come. Could it be the freedman and his brother? Spreading the misery?
Sorry, can you do that again?
So we've got the freedman sleeping in bed with his own brother, and the freedman's hair gets cut at night.
Yeah.
And then it happens again.
Okay.
So it happens twice to the same guy.
Yeah.
Later on, in a different room, a young boy sees two men come in, cut the young boy's hair, and then leave.
Right.
I'm positing that the two men is the freedman and his brother. Just going around cutting more hair.
But like the freedman's one that complained about the... It's like
he's in on it now. I don't know. He's looking for more hair. Who knows?
Like, so he who smelt it dealt it? Is that,
Yeah, why not?
Is that... Look, I'm going to err on the side of the Freeman and say that, like, he was probably the first person to notice getting his hair cut by these people in white, jumping through windows and cutting hair. But one would wonder, like, I'm trying to think of another word for this, but all I can think of is what a weird fetish.
Occam's razor? No?
I was going to say, what a weird fetish.
Oh, no. I don't know what this is. I don't think we're going to get answers either, but let's keep going, shall we?
So it's like a married couple that gets off and, like, jumping through windows and cutting bits of people's hair off. Go back home and just, like, throw it on the bed and...
Well, they're leaving their hair on the floor, though.
Yeah, it's wasteful.
It's so weird.
It reminds me of a joke from Seinfeld. He made a joke about how, like, hair, you know, we brush it, we enjoy it. It's one of these things where we revel in brushing up against somebody else's hair. But as soon as it falls off their head, it's disgusting. You know, if you find, like, a piece of hair in food, it's gross and disgusting. And it's kind of funny, like, how we perceive hair in different situations or in very different ways.
Whereas here, at least, I think everyone's totally justified of being horrified at the nightly
Cutting
adulteration of hair.
Ah, so you think it's a fetish too?
No, God. Daylight revealed that his head had also been shorn. Shorn.
Wow. So not just cut a little bit of hair off now, like, you know.
Yeah, full on Wallace and Gromit. And the hair was scattered about. So again, they're not taking their hair. They're just cutting it off.
They've got something against hair.
Yeah. Or something for baldies.
Told ya.
Nothing remarkable followed, except perhaps the fact that I was not brought to trial, as I should have been.
He did it! He was the Sera.
As I should have if Domitian, under whom all this happened, had lived longer. Now, what he's saying there...
Is that he died?
Is that... No. So, Domitian was the Roman emperor at the time.
Oh, okay.
And he's complaining that Domitian must have been, like, a real stickler for getting the real story out in court. Mm-hmm. But whoever the new Roman emperor is just like, whatever, just bring these slaves in, tell the story, and away we go. Mm-hmm. Like, nobody really investigated properly, because they really should have spoken to Pliny the Younger about this situation happening in his house.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, if you ever really want to be shocked, you can always look up how long Roman emperors lived. So typically...
Did you mean long or short?
Short. So,
yeah.
Well, yeah, short. So, like, if you look up... Well, not their age is not important. It's, like, their reigns.
Oh, yeah, short.
So, like, how long it takes from them to get into power and then die one way or another.
Yeah.
Because it is a terrifyingly short time.
The first Roman emperor was not emperor for very long. It's not like it started with a guy whose reign was 80 years and then got successively shorter. Mm. The first guy was very much almost immediately murdered by everyone around him.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't change their system, like, sooner, because, like, if I was next in line to be the emperor, I would be pushing that off to somebody else.
Wouldn't it be? It's absolutely ridiculous that a failed system of government hangs around for hundreds and hundreds of years.
But could you imagine if, like, the last, like,
couldn't imagine it. No,
4 or 5 guys, like, lasted 4 or 5 years apiece or whatever. Like, could you imagine being like, oh, it'll be different for me?
Well, I think we've got someone in office right now trying to make it a little bit different for them.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I think, God forbid, you know, someone became Roman emperor at a younger age, because then they would not live very long. You know, the best thing that could happen to a Roman emperor is they come into power later in life.
So, like popes, really?
Yeah, no, it was just really fascinating. I can't remember what necessarily inspired me to do it. I think I was watching some Roman, like, movie or TV show. And I was like, God, these emperors don't seem to last very long. And then I was like, oh, let's just, like, pull up the history records. And, like, I was like, whoa. Like,
yeah. There's a reason that a lot of people are very obsessed with the Roman Empire.
Why is that?
Well, you just explained why.
Oh, because there's so many empires. Emperors in the empire. Well, I mean, I guess like in a random sick way, it was kind of like a dark comedy.
Yeah. The Roman Empire was a bit, you're right.
Yeah, like, you know, do slash.
All right. So Pliny's complaining that he wasn't able to go and speak at the court. Keep it in mind, he is a lawyer, that is his profession, and he wasn't called
And
to
he
this
wants
trial.
to do it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
For amongst the papers in his desk was found information laid against me by Carus.
People should be interested in me.
Yes.
I'm a very important person.
Now,
people should be listening to me, wanting to talk to me. Yep. Why don't people love me?
Well, if no one's talking to me, I'll just write letters to literally everyone in this empire.
You'll see history. Someone will make a Christmas carol from this.
Now, for the history buffs listening, yes, that is Marcus Aurelius Carus that he's talking about. And no, I don't care which order they even came in. I didn't retain that information. Either way, he's complaining about 2 different Roman emperors in his own lifetime. So, yeah, they didn't last long.
That's what I'm saying.
From which, in view of the custom for accused persons to let their hair grow long, one may interpret the cutting of my slave's hair as a sign that the danger threatening me was averted.
So somebody else's hair got cut besides his?
Yeah,
It's just hair, dude. Come on.
no, it is just hair. But it seems like there's some cultural significance to people and their long hair and innocence that we are not understanding. But it's all wrapped up in that. Either way, he's saying that he is not in trouble, I think. And that any reasonable Roman emperor would agree.
Well, not that anyone would listen to the case anyway, right?
Or that they ever had a reasonable Roman emperor.
Indeed.
So please, apply your learned mind to this question. It deserves your long and careful consideration, nor can I be called undeserving as a recipient of your informed opinion. So he really wants Licinius Cernus to reply to him. You may argue both sides of the case, as you always do, but lay your emphasis on one side or the other, and do not leave me in suspense and uncertainty. My reason for asking your opinion was to put an end to my doubts. The end.
The end.
So, one weird Spirit of Africa story, one absolute bombshell haunted house story, and then, hey, can you explain why my servant's hair keeps getting cutting at night?
I've just had the best time. It's just been an amazing book.
Well, you better believe that I'm going to read the rest of this guy's letters, because he's got an attitude on him. He's got a moxie that I enjoy.
Do you know, interestingly enough, and it's a shame that this isn't secondhand Roman letters, because I tell you, I'm really enjoying listening to the letters, but I'm not sure if I've got the patience to do it myself.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm actually enjoying it more getting somebody else to like read them and then, you know, like discuss them.
Explain what's happening. You know? Yeah. Well, I think firstly, for tonight, in all 3 stories he's described here, do you have an MVP? I'm gonna say right now that we're not doing a word award, because this is all translated anyway, and
sure,
who cares? But is there a character that you particularly enjoy?
The African woman ghost.
The Spirit of Africa herself?
The Spirit of Africa herself, yeah. The ginormous 3-meter woman. That's right, yes. 7'8" or something, 7'8".
Don't forget, fortune-telling woman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. How could you forget that? The fortune-telling Spirit of Africa. We should all be so lucky.
Well, Curtius Rufus certainly didn't forget that.
No. To his dying day.
Yeah, exactly. I've got to pick Athenodorus, the world's first Ghostbuster.
You know, if I was going to pick a word, I think it would be his name as well anyway.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
And maybe a small applause for being able to pronounce it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, not without some serious Googling and notes to help me remember. As a little aside, I will put down my notes for this particular letter was 2.5 pages, 1 star, 3 stories, land spirit, haunted house, and weird night ghost barbers.
Weird night ghost barbers. That sums it up well.
I can't argue with myself from months ago whenever I read this. I think that is what happened there.
Could it be that it was just people that just really like other people's hairs to be cut properly? So they are, in fact, the midnight barber.
Do you think it was someone who was balding themselves and were like, well, it's not going to be as obvious if I go around and cut everyone else's hair?
I was genuinely thinking someone that just like enjoys cutting hair. Do you know,
barber in training.
Random reference, maybe even a little bit of a fun fact, but do you remember the Mighty Boosh?
I do remember the Mighty Boosh.
In the Mighty Boosh, there was an episode where a character that Noel Fielding played, Vince, was cutting the hair of the other character, the friend.
Howard,
sure. So
Howard
Vince,
Moon, yes.
Yeah, that's right, Howard Moon, yeah. So Vince was...
And Vince Noir,
that's right. So Vince Noir, in an episode, Vince Noir talked about how he used to cut Howard's hair in the middle of the night. He was the midnight barber.
Oh my god!
Yeah, he's like, don't cut my hair when I'm sleeping. He's like, oh, I'm in there, you know.
I'm in there in the night, styling away.
How dare you do that to me in the night when I'm oblivious?
I do my best work when you're oblivious. I'll lean you up against the pillow and I'll go at you.
That's perverted.
Of the two, which one do you think had read this for inspiration for that episode?
Vince Noir.
I don't think Vince Noir can read, can he? We should probably wrap up very, very soon, but do you want just another real short letter?
Sure.
I'll just like randomly do the very next letter here.
Sure.
I haven't read it before, I haven't read any notes, but I see the word friends a lot, and it could be something. So this is letter number 28 to Septitius Clarus. You say that people have criticised me in your hearing for taking any opportunity for exaggerated praise of my friends. Oh, so some guy's saying your
friends are so good.
yeah, pretty much. Stop explaining how great your friends are, Pliny. I accept the charge. In fact, I welcome it. For there can be no more honourable fault than warmth of heart.
To be fair, he's got a solid point.
Yeah, I'm like, this is great.
How dare you exaggerate your love for your friends? What a time. What a time to be alive.
But who are these people who know my friends better than I do myself? And even if they do... why grudge me happiness in my delusion?
I'm genuinely interested.
My friends may not be all I proclaim them, but it makes me happy to think that they are.
Is this like Robe, the Desperate Housewives edition?
Let these people transfer this misplaced attentions to someone else. They will find all too many who think it a sign of good judgment to disparage their friends. But they will never persuade me to believe that I love mine too much. The end. Cheers to friends, yeah?
I'm not sure if you get the clicking noises from that.
No idea. I've got no idea what you're doing, but Ollie, I love you.
Oh, I was just love you too, Callum. I was doing the the clicky thing that's like, no, she didn't. Like, yeah.
I feel like I just culturally appropriated something and I feel dirty. But I'm sure that we will soon enough culturally appropriate something else next time on Second-Hand Haunting. This week's story is from the Letters of the Younger Pliny, as translated by Betty Radice. Episode edited by Callum Patrick for the Peas in a Podcast Network.
Nullum spectrum timeo.